So I was just visiting in London with my oldest friend, Darius. And Darius, I helped him out a little bit on making his first documentary. And we have been close friends since we were 12. And we went on some very, very long bike trips with each other when we were quite young that were amazing. And because we're now old men, we thought it might rejuvenate us to go on a bicycle touring trip again, to make it, to rekindle our youth. So 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we went on this bike trip, and we were riding, and we'd ridden for. We have our tents on the back of a bike, and we're riding around the Olympic Peninsula, which is in Washington State on the west coast of the U.S. And we were riding, and we had ridden a long ways. We had ridden about 70 miles that day, and we went to a grocery store, and we decided we wanted to buy some fish, to grill a fish at our campfire that night. And we went into this, have I told this story before?
No.
So we went into a grocery store, and it was just the worst grocery store you'd ever. There was nothing but the most sort of disgusting, frozen, then thawed, then frozen again, fish sticks. There was no good fish. And here we are, right on the coast of Washington, where there's amazing fish just right there. And so we asked a woman who was standing there, we said, "Do you know where we could get any fresh fish?" And she said, "I'm sorry, there's nowhere." We were in this small little town. We were actually in Forks, Washington, which is where Twilight took place. And she said, "No, there's actually nowhere you can get fresh fish here." And we were like, we so wanted that. So we walked away, and then she tapped me on the shoulder and she said, "It's just so weird that you asked me that, because I have some fresh salmon that was caught today in my car right now, and I feel like I should just give it to you." And we were like, "Are you sure?" And she said, "Yeah, someone gave it to me, and the fact that you asked me for fresh fish, I think it means I'm supposed to give it to you." And so she gave us this amazing fillet that was this long of beautiful, fresh sockeye salmon. And we tied it onto the back of our bikes, and we rode on. And we rode down this little country road, and it was getting to be evening, and nobody had passed us for a long time. And we were climbing and climbing and climbing. We came to the top of a mountain, and we rode for many miles down this very, very quiet country road. There were no cars at all. And we were climbing and climbing up a hill for miles. And we got to the top of a mountain, and we started down the hill. And we looked at each other, and we're very competitive with one another. We had these bags on the side of our bikes. We looked at each other, and we kind of nodded, like, "Let's race." And so we started racing down the hill. And it was a very, very steep hill. And we were going as fast as I have ever gone on a bike. And we forgot to... Here, Danielle, take your microphone away from... Do you have a microphone on you, Danielle? Yes, okay. We started going down so fast, and we were right next to each other, and we forgot to take into account that we had bags next on our bikes, and our bags hit each other, and we looked at each other as we started to crash, and I said, "I'm so sorry," and then we went down, and we were probably going 50 miles an hour. We were going really, really fast, and I remember just falling so fast and rolling and rolling and rolling, and thinking to myself, I'm still alive, but expecting not to be thinking that at any point. Like, we were really going that fast. And finally I stopped, and I was still alive, and I kind of checked my body, and I definitely felt like I was in pain, but I could stand up, and I saw my friend, and he was about 50 feet away from me on the side of the road, lying in a ditch, and he was covered in blood,
And I yelled out his name. I was like, Darius! And he didn't respond. And I thought he was dead. And I ran over to him. Oh, such an emotional story. Ran over to him, and he was unconscious, and he finally woke up, and he said, Misha, where are we? What are we doing? He had really bad amnesia and a really serious concussion. And long story short, this guy pulls up in a car, and which we were grateful for. We were there for maybe 5 minutes before a car came by, and it had been a long time before a car came by. And he had just gone to Costco to buy toilet paper and stuff like that, and his car was full of toilet paper. And my friend's face was really messed up. And there was just he was covered in blood. And we said, can you get us to a hospital? And he said, I'm sorry, there's no room. And he drove on. And we didn't even have time to respond. Like, he's driving on, it was unthinkable. And then finally another truck came and he took us to the hospital, and we spent the night in the hospital. And we were both eventually okay, although he was kind of messed up for about a year. And we lost that fish. And this is actually not a joke, but for him and me, that represented a really big thing, which was, we've been given like this amazing gift. This amazing thing fell in our laps, and we fucked it up because we were reckless with the gifts that we've been given. So it was a really important lesson for both of us to really appreciate and take care of the things that come to us by miracle in life, and not to take anything for granted. That was not the story you were expecting to get.